How you doing?
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 How you doing? How you doing? How you doing?
How you doing? How you doing?
How you doing? So what's going on?
You don't want to know.
And now, Tom Zappola and Mike Lamazzo with the Sicilian Corner.
Pan. About a minute and a half. Folks, let us know now if you can hear us. Can you hear us?
No sound.
No sound.
Still?
Well, I don't know.
Okay.
Uh,
I can check, but I don't want to feedback. So I'm going to turn it.
okay, now it's on. Now it's on. Thank you,
Okay.
John.
Very good.
Okay,
Very
that's
good.
good. Thank you.
So anyway, we've had these four people that I can think of that are very excited about today's show. They all got a pencil and paper, and I just want to tell listeners, I really, and Tommy, we've talked about this before.
Mhm.
This is very, very important show.
It is. It is.
And our guest is going to be Attorney Dan Debricare from the Debricare Law Offices. As a disclaimer, folks, I am a client of Dan Debricare, so I just have to say that. Dan, are you with us?
Is Dan with us? Hey, Dan, can you hear us? Oh, I guess he can't. Hey, Dan, can you hear us? I know we've had some technical audio difficulties.
It's
I
funny.
had him on the phone.
Well, anyways, when you get Dan, the bottom line here is that, the Sicilian Corner, typically we kind of have some fun with it.
This is a serious
Yeah,
show.
this is really,
And
this
this-
is something that's important. I agree with
This
that.
is important to me.
Well, that's because you're freaking 95 years old.
Well, that has something to do with it.
No, it's important for everyone because, if you're over the age of 50, you really need to think about, especially actually, not if you're over the age of 50, if you're young and you have
That's
kids
one
in-
of the questions I want to ask Dan. What year would he suggest that, say, a married couple with a couple of children think about
Exactly.
setting things up and putting things in order? Just recently, Barbara and I met with Dan, and just to put her financial house in order. And I have to tell you, you know what she said to me when we got outside in the car? She says, "Oh my God," she says, "I feel like I had all this weight lifted off my
Yeah,
shoulders."
I believe that. There are things that you have to start thinking about. Things
And we
like-
don't like to think about the day we're going to die, or you know that we think
I'm
we're
not
invincible.
I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about prior to all that.
Yeah.
Setting up trust, all that good stuff. So, do we have him, David?
You should have him.
Hey, Dan, can you hear us?
I can hear you, and can you hear
You
me?
cannot hear us, David.
Yes, I can.
There you go.
There he goes. All right.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Sorry for the audio.
That's okay.
It's okay. We can make it work.
Dan, we invited you.
We have to get David. Boy, this has been a fun
Oh, this is the most trouble we've had in 21 years.
big X, Dave.
Hold on.
Okay.
You gotta keep doing a show though.
Oh yeah. All right. Anyway, Dan, I don't know if Dan can hear us, but Dan, you can just nod.
Okay, he can hear us.
He can hear us.
You handled that very well, by the way.
The point is that I think it's really important for not just older people, but younger people to hear what Dan has to say, because if you're in your 40s and you've got kids in college, and you need to start thinking about the future, how you're going to distribute any wealth that you have, trust, all that stuff. I mean, Dan, when do you start? Can you hear us now?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
So Dan,
Give us a doll if you.
when do you start? At what age should an individual really start thinking about the future? I don't know if you get into advising about 529 plans or things like that. But the point is that, estate planning is not just for someone that's 75 years old, correct?
Correct. Yeah, there are different phases of our lives that require different kinds of protections. For example, someone who's not married and doesn't have children, they may want to have something that's really simple so that if they have assets, that their assets will go where they want them to go. But even if they don't, if they should become incapacitated where they can't make a medical decision, They would want to be able to have documents in place allowing somebody to get medical information and make medical decisions for them, as well as conduct business on their behalf.
By the way, we're talking with Dan Debriquet. If you have questions, text them on the comment line, and we'll forward the questions to Dan.
You know what? I'd like to start off, Tommy,
Yeah, go
by
ahead.
asking Dan, could you explain to our listeners what exactly is estate planning?
Okay, so, well, estate planning is making sure that you have the legal planning and documents in place so that if either you lose your cognitive abilities, in other words, you can't make legal decisions or you can't make choices, or if you die, that your wishes get carried out. And a lot of times what happens when people don't have the proper estate planning is it really puts their family through a lot of expense and trouble.
Okay.
Interesting. Very
Yeah.
interesting. So I guess, may I ask a question? Thank you. First question.
Did you put your hand up?
I did.
Uh,
Dan, estate planning for a younger person is really, really important. But you know what goes through my mind, and I think goes through a lot of people's minds. People, I've talked about it with many people. The whole concept of how can you protect your money in the event that you have to go into a nursing home? Is there a way to do it? Protect your money so that you've worked your whole life, you've accumulated some savings. Is that going to go down the drain as soon as you get into a nursing home?
So when you ask if there is a way to do it, there are several ways to do it depending on your circumstances. And I think one of the things that discourages people from doing anything is that it becomes complicated because asset protection for a nursing home situation is different for people depending on their own circumstances. That's why it's important to sit down with a qualified elder law attorney and find out what exemptions and strategies under the Medicaid law that you have would apply to you. Many times you hear people say the 5-year look back period, and you have to, and a lot of people are stuck in this myth that the only way you can protect assets is if you have this 5-year look back period,
Right.
Between the time you protect the assets and the time that you need long-term care.
Yeah.
Well, it's just not true. For many people, there are exemptions and strategies available to them under the Medicaid law that we can protect assets.
Really?
The problem we run into is they may have those exemptions and strategies available to them, but if one of the spouses or a parent becomes cognitively impaired and the documents aren't in place, then the other spouse or the children don't have the authority to do it. And you just can't steal somebody's assets. You have to have documents in place to be able to protect those assets at the time of a crisis.
So basically you're saying that it's important to do this beforehand,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
Early as possible.
Right. Okay. That's good. That's good. Johnny Savastano asking the question. I'm a 60-year-old married man with 4 kids. How do I protect everything so they avoid probate? Is that possible?
Well, avoiding probate is definitely possible by having everything in a trust. And there are certain assets you can't put into a trust. For example, an IRA, a 401k, and there are some other assets that can't go into a trust. Well, then you name beneficiaries on those, and the beneficiary will be a trust. Okay. That way, because the trust provides other protections for the beneficiaries, and those assets that can't be in the trust will go into the trust when you die.
Wow.
That's good.
I think you mentioned that.
I did.
Today. I asked you another question too, and I'm sorry for asking questions, but you're at the age where you've got all your stuff in place.
Does
No.
the phrase "bite me" mean anything?
Now I forgot my question. It was a good question.
And I'm
too.
glad. I'm
it
glad.
had to do with the trust and the
Okay.
probate.
Well, in the
I'll take it.
meantime, till it comes to that little head of yours
Go ahead.
and that little
Go.
circumference, could you explain? Sometimes it's beneficial for individuals when they're leaving assets to take the generation skip. Could you explain that a little bit more thoroughly?
Which, by the way, Mike and I have talked about it. I'm contemplating doing that, my wife and I.
You know, grandchildren, is it better to leave to your son and daughter, or is it better to skip them on tax liability end of it?
And just to add to what Mike is asking you, Dan, and the way we've looked at it is that our 4 kids, financially, they're all in great shape.
Right.
Great shape, no issues. I'm not worried about anything. But you never know what's going to happen down the road. So we're thinking about setting up some type of a trust of some sort for the grandkids. And we've spoken to our kids about it, and they're all in agreement. You know, we're good. You know, let's worry about the grandkids, because anything could happen down the road. And especially, and I'm not going to lie, divorce being one. You know, I mean, you have
51% of the people.
Yeah, I mean, you have to really look at that. I mean, our in-laws, we love them. They're great, all solid marriages. But, you know, down the road, you don't know what's going to happen.
Can you button it just for a minute? I want him to explain what the generation skip is.
Well, that's what we're talking about.
Okay, let him talk. He's
Go ahead.
our guest.
I'm sorry, Dan.
What's the matter with
So-
you?
So generation skipping, the purpose of generation skipping is so that, well, let me just give you a hypothetical. Let's say you leave $1 million to your children, and your children keep that money and they invest it and they get some of the income from it. Well, when they die, if their estate is taxable, they're going to pay a tax again for passing it to their kids. And hypothetically, you know, in this hypothetical, it would be taxable from you to your kids as well. So we're paying actually 2 different estate taxes without the generation skip. With a generation skip, you're allowed to skip a generation up to a certain threshold and eliminate that double tax. Now, generation skips are not very popular right now because the threshold is so high. Right now, an unmarried person can leave $12.7 million to their children without paying any federal estate tax. Now, Massachusetts, it's $1 million, but the rate's a little bit lower. So a lot of people are not really in a position where a generation skip is going to benefit them. And then there is also a ceiling on how much you can run through a skip. And that's right now, it's currently the same as the estate tax threshold, $12.7 million. But now all of this is going to change very soon because the new administration is talking about deunifying the threshold and making lower threshold amounts for generation skips and gifting. So it's going to be a whole new world out there as soon as we find out what they're going to do. And they're talking about lowering that 12.7 million threshold to 3.5 million.
Interesting. We are chatting with Dan Debricare from the Debricare Law Offices. We're going to take a quick break. Dan, we'll stick with us for the whole show.
He's
All right.
going to be on.
Please, if you
another
have
segment.
questions,
And we apologize.
yeah,
for the
so I
problems
think
there.
we'll keep you on for the last 2 segments, actually. But listen,
Oh,
folks,
beautiful.
if you have questions, please send them to us, and we'll see if we can get any answers.
This is very important for everybody.
Keep saying that.
This is very important for everybody.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Looking for that something special? All of us here at the Sicilian Corner suggest trying Ristorante Uno, located at 119 Salem Street in Boston's historic North End. For the most exquisite dining experience in an intimate setting that serves authentic regional Italian cuisine and features old country service. Try Ristorante Uno. Did we mention their award-winning wine cellar? Ristorante Uno, 119 Salem Street in Boston's historic North End. Call 617-573-9406 for reservations. That's 617-573-9406. Tell them the boys from the Sicilian Corner sent you.
Today, Lawrence General Hospital has affiliations with leading Boston academic medical centers. Top specialists from Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center and Floating Hospital for Children at Tufts Medical Center work with our local doctors to bring world-class care close to home. Today, amazing partnerships are happening at Lawrence General Hospital. To learn more, visit lawrencegeneral.org/today.
Italian artisan cuisine combines simple, fresh ingredients with time-honored preparation to create an incredible culinary experience. At Tuscan Kitchen, located in Salem's historic Depot District, talented chefs prepare everything in-house from scratch for all to see. Guests enjoy their meal literally in our kitchen as food is prepared right in front of you. Wood ovens burn from morning till night, roasting vegetables, baking bread, and firing delightful thin-crust pizzas. Prime steaks are seared on a wood grill. A rotisserie slowly roasts marinated whole chickens and lamb, while a pasta maker creates fresh fettuccine. More than just artisan cuisine, Tuscan Kitchen features the wine bar, live entertainment, weekly wine tastings, and elegant private dining and event space. Call 603-952-4875 or visit TuscanKitchen.com to make a reservation and learn more about the culinary adventure that awaits. In Italy, cooking is an art form. Tuscan Kitchen. Experience artisan Italian.
Essex Orthopedics and Optima Sports Medicine is pleased to announce the opening of their American College of Radiology accredited MRI unit at their location at 16 Pelham Road in Salem, New Hampshire. So now, in addition to receiving the best orthopedic care in the Merrimack Valley, as well as physical and occupational therapy at Optima Sports Therapy and Rehab, you can also have your MRI, all in one convenient location. The doctors and staff of Essex Orthopedics and Optima Sports Medicine have been dedicated to providing outstanding medical care to the Merrimack Valley in southern New Hampshire since 1984. Located on Route 97, just off Exit 2 from Route 93 North, on the second floor of the Workout Club of Salem. You deserve the best care, and that's exactly what you'll get from the board-certified surgeons at Essex Orthopedics and Optima Sports Medicine. Please call 603-898-2244 to schedule an appointment.
A loyal sponsor for the Sicilian Corner is Hilton Oil Company. Hilton Oil has been located right across from the South Lawrence Common since 1932 at 101 South Union Street. Hilton Oil Company specializes in 24-hour burner service, oil deliveries, including automatic deliveries, serving all the Merrimack Valley area, plus portions of southern New Hampshire. If you want your car fixed right the first time, bring it to Hilton's state-of-the-art service station. Remember, Hilton's is also a Mass State inspection station. Hilton Oil Company, 101 South Union Street in Lawrence. Call 978-687-9793.
This is Cindy
and Mike Kunstler,
owners of Grazie Italian Restaurant in Dracut, Massachusetts,
the hidden gem of the Merrimack Valley.
In addition to spectacular views overlooking our golf course, we have an incredible Italian chef, Benny Curti.
Benny was born and raised in Italy and came to be our executive chef in 2013.
Benny is so passionate about cooking. If you haven't experienced the food at Grazie Italian Restaurant, you're truly in for a treat.
Grazie Italian Restaurant, located at Four Oaks Country Club.
Okay,
right,
we are
we're
back.
back.
We're back.
Absolutely.
Dan, Deborah Care from the Deborah Care Law Offices. David, do we have a question?
Yes, we did. It's up on the screen.
Attorney Steve Lane from New Orleans.
Yeah.
Mike,
Yeah.
why don't you read? I know you.
What,
can
if
read.
any, advice is Dan giving in view of possible Biden tax law changes? That's an excellent question, Steve.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. I wish I had the answer for that because in order to have the answer for that, we'd need a crystal ball.
Yeah.
I belong to an organization called the American Academy of Estate Planning Attorneys, and they have two tax lawyers that are following this every day and updating us. Right now I'm not advising my clients to do anything because we don't know exactly what's going to happen. What could happen if the gifting limit gets lowered to $1 million, as they've talked about, that you might be able to get some gifting done before the end of the year and lower your estate's tax liability. But we're not in a position to recommend anything to anybody right now until we know what's going to happen.
So it's a very fluid situation.
It is. It is.
Nancy DeMarco wants to know if you have a healthy insurance policy, how can you put that in the? I know the 401 you can't put in the trust, but when you have life insurances, can you put that in the trust?
So if somebody has a life insurance policy for their family's security or just for their final costs, what we recommend is that they change the beneficiary on their life insurance policy So, and we do all of that for you, by the way. So if people come to us, we have them give us all of their statements, and we talk to them about how we're going to change the beneficiary of the life insurance policy to the trust. Sometimes people have life insurance policies and they have very little cash value but a high death benefit. Well, one of the strategies we're going to be using if the new administration's threshold is low is to take those policies and to put them into what's called an irrevocable life insurance trust. And that would take it out of the taxable estate so that they wouldn't pay any tax on the death benefit.
Okay.
Hey, Dan, I had asked, Mike and I were talking about this during the commercial break. I want to make sure that I understand. So you said that a 401k cannot be added to a trust, correct?
Correct. It has to stay in the taxpayer's name while the taxpayer is living. It can go into the trust when the taxpayer dies.
Okay, so what happens then?
You hear what he just said?
I did. But I just want to make sure that I understand on my end. So when you hit 70 and a half, or whatever it is, you have to start drawing off of your 401k.
It's 72 now.
I'm right, 72. So it's actually into the 73rd year, whatever it is. So let's say, for the sake of conversation, that I have to take $50,000 the first year out of my 401k.
That's the automatic withdrawal.
Correct. And I know you have to pay taxes on that.
Correct.
The balance of what's left over from that $50,000 after taxes, you can't even put that into a trust?
Oh, you can, sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can. And you know, one of the things we're talking about right now, too, is where we've got some tax reductions that are still in effect, income tax reductions, and we're asking our clients to look at their current marginal tax rate to see what percentage they're paying, and then look at the people who are going to inherit their IRAs to see what marginal tax rate they're paying, because, you know, some of our clients are in a 15% tax bracket, and they've got children who are professionals that are in a 28% tax bracket.
That's a
well, it makes a lot of sense to take it out while you're alive. Then there's a larger net result for the children.
That's a very good point.
Well, and plus the government forces you to take that sliding scale withdrawal out every year. But
you know,
after that first withdrawal, Dan, you pay taxes on that, and then you can move the balance of your 401 into the trust at that point.
Just what you've taken out.
What you've taken out.
Just what you've taken out.
What you've taken. Okay, that's where I was getting a little screwed up.
Just what you've taken out.
Yeah, but you know,
you could put the
you can't.
I wish
since we're on that topic, we should just take a minute to talk about the Secure Act. That's a new law that pertains to beneficiaries who inherit an IRA, and that became effective January 1st, 2020.
Just read about this.
And so what happens is prior to the Secure Act, you would leave your IRA to a beneficiary, and they would be able to take their withdrawals out over their lifetime. It's called a stretch, right? Well, after the Secure Act, your beneficiary has to withdraw it within 10 years of your passing away.
Yeah.
And that's causing many people to start to withdraw down their IRAs and sometimes fund a Roth IRA with it, because the Roth IRA, there's no tax when you take the money out. Okay,
so can you take out money out of your 401k prior to hitting that 72 mark? Say I wanted to take $50,000 out of a 401k. Can you convert that into a Roth IRA?
Yes, you can, but if you take it out before you're 58 years old, then you're going to pay a 10% penalty.
Gotcha. Okay. Before you what? Hold on.
The government.
Before what age?
58.
Okay, so I'm 68. So if I didn't want to have to pay taxes on my 401k when I hit 72 or 73, whatever it is, I could take money out of it now and convert that into a Roth IRA, or can you not do that?
You may or may not be able to do it. There are certain qualifications for a Roth IRA depending on your income and other factors.
Gotcha. Okay, I didn't know that. That's good. That's good.
No, there's no
advice.
question about it. Dan, could you explain to our listeners a living trust? What exactly is a living trust?
So a living trust is any trust that is in effect while you're alive. Okay. It used to be that in most cases, trusts didn't have anything in them. They had $10. We used to actually staple a $10 bill to the trust, and they would get funded upon your death. Okay, so your will would be a pour over will. Everything you owned would go into your trust when you die. And that was a long time ago when the probate process was a lot more simple. But now a major goal of people is to avoid probate. So you would put the assets in the trust. Now, when you form the trust. So if that's the case, they're all living trusts. People, hear the term living trust and think it's something special, but it's any trust that's active while you're alive. And we should even take a moment to talk about what a trust is, because people get confused by that. A trust is just a contract. That's all it is. It's an agreement between three different parties. And that is the grantor who puts their assets into the trust, the trustee who manages the assets, and the beneficiary who takes the assets out of the trust, who has the right to the benefit of the assets. And it's just a contract. So a lot of people think, well, I've got this document that says revocable trust. What will it do? And it's a contract. We'd have to read the words. Every word, every sentence, and every paragraph could make that document do something different.
Interesting. Hey, Dale, at what age should a married couple, not at what age, how often should a married couple review their will?
We like to see our clients every year, but that rarely happens. So most of the time, we start harassing people after 3 years, sending them letters with COVID and all of this. We haven't been notifying people because a lot of people don't want to do virtual or come to the office. So we've been putting that off a little bit. But prior to COVID, we were sending reminders to people after 3 years to come in, because it's very important, because your health could have changed, your assets could have changed, your relationships with the fiduciaries that you've chosen may have changed, and some people don't remember who they chose. So we like to have them come in and spend 20 minutes, just go over all of these things, so that 10, 15, 20 years down the road, that estate plan is going to be just as effective as the day it was signed. We don't charge for those meetings either.
Dan, you have offices located very conveniently throughout the area. Could you just tell our listening audience, because we reach, a WCAP signal goes from Boston all the way to Concord, New Hampshire.
Sure.
Could you just mention where your offices are located?
Sure. So we have two offices in New Hampshire, one in Londonderry at exit 5 on 93, and one in Nashua at exit 4 on the Everett Turnpike. We also have 3 offices in Massachusetts. One of them is in North Andover, where I am today. And then Woburn, right at where 95 and 93 intersects on Washington Street. And then in Beverly, in the Cummings Park.
So you're conveniently located for many of our listeners, and they're listening to us right now. That's very good. Have you started up your seminars lately? I know during COVID we had a problem, and everything was kind of quieted down. But I did notice you had quite a few functions going on over at the Tuscan. Is that going to become more mainstay now? We're getting back to the regular routine.
Well, when COVID hit, we started conducting webinars. And, they were a little bit awkward at first. They weren't very effective until we polished them up a little bit. And now the webinars are starting to be effective. So what we plan to do, instead of doing 4 seminars a month, our plan is to do 2 webinars a month and then 4 seminars every other month, because Massachusetts just opened up. Prior to about a month ago, we couldn't do them in Massachusetts because they had size limits for venues.
Dan, how difficult does it get for an office like yours when administrations change every 4 years? Especially, with tax laws, Republicans do one thing, Democrats do another thing. The tax laws are being changed. All kinds of financial situations are being changed. It's got to be a real pain in the ass for you guys.
Normally the pendulum doesn't swing as far to one side or the other the way it swung this time. So normally it's all of our documents have the flexibility, and it's more with the client talking to their financial advisor about what they're going to invest in. This time it's a huge it's just a huge swing. So we're being very careful about what's going to happen and what we can recommend to our clients. And
especially if, again, sometimes you have to tie politics into it. So in another year, if the Republicans wind up taking over the House, do you think things are going to change again? Are you anticipating more changes?
Boy, if I knew the answer to that question.
Oh, boy, I'll tell you. I'll have you pick out some stocks for me if you do that.
It's a head scratcher. You know what I mean?
It is.
It is.
Dan, reducing your estate with the tax exclusion at $15,000, I believe, this year. Does it make sense to reduce assets, and for what reason?
So the $15,000 number that you talked about is confused by a lot of people. What that is, it's called
Tommy's confused.
Very confused.
It's called your annual gifting exclusion, which means that if you gift less than $15,000 per year to any one individual, then you don't have to report it. If you're a married person, you can gift $30,000. And if you're a married couple gifting to a married couple, you can gift $60,000.
Hold on, but that is to one individual, not several. So in other words, if I'm going to gift $15,000, it's going to be to one person.
But you can do that with several people.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah. So and the reason you would do that is so that you don't have to report it. It doesn't mean that if you gift over $15,000, you're going to pay a tax. Because right now, remember the threshold I talked about where you could leave $12.7 million in your estate without paying a tax. Right now, that's a unified credit. The word unified is because it's for gifting and leaving in an estate. They're talking about changing that, deunifying it, and limit your gifting to $1 million. Now that $15,000 a year is going to be very important if they do change the gift limit to $1 million over a lifetime, because the tax on a gift over your limit is going to be 40%.
Wow.
So people are going to want to do a lot more annual exclusion gifting, as well as a lot of things like family limited partnerships for people who own investment property or businesses, because then you can get the assets out of the estate at a reduced and discounted amount.
Getting back to the Secure Act for a moment, I know that you explained some of the changes, but did I just read, because my wife is almost at that age, she's going to be 70 in November. Didn't they extend the time that you can take money out of your 401k? The way we're reading it is that she's going to be 70 in November, and that she really doesn't have to start taking it out until into her 73rd year. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah. No, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I wish they did that.
I know that. Because Mike, obviously, Mike, I respect him with his financials, not much other stuff, but he really has given me some good advice.
Of course not.
He's given me some great advice over the years. When you said that, I had just read about Secure Act. So, I mean, that's kind of beneficial for people that are going to hit that milestone.
Dan, can you stay with us just a few more minutes?
Certainly.
We're gonna need to take a break, but when we come back, we got a couple of more questions we'd like to ask you, and I hope our listeners are enjoying this. This is a little something different.
Yeah, listen, we said at the beginning of the show, this is serious stuff, and this is, everybody should be, paying attention, jot down some notes, ask some questions, and go from there.
David, before we go out to break, if you could put Dan's contact information, telephone number, have it on the screen for us, that would be great.
Sure.
Okay. All right, we're going to take a break, and we're going to be right back. Just stay with us, Dan.
This is David from the Sicilian Corner. Mike, Tom, and I love to go to Salisbury Beach, but we love different things, and we can never agree. Tom likes the casual family-style dining with great Italian cuisine. Capri Seaside Italian Grill. Me, I love the elegant romantic vibe, Sea Glass with the amazing view and terrific menu with prices that'll make it the place you want to visit every week. Mike loves a drink in his hand and a cool ocean breeze right off the surf and the rhythms of an even cooler reggae band. We all know Mike loves Bob Marley tunes at Surfside. Who doesn't love a great show? National acts, comedy, regional favorites, and the beautiful and intimate Blue Ocean Music Hall. Lucky for us, Atlantic Hospitality is the host of all these great places, and they treat everyone like they're Mike Lamazzo. And best of all, we never have to choose. Park the car once and all of this fun is right at your fingertips. We can have it all in the heart of Salisbury Beach. Find out about all the ways you can have a great night at Salisbury Beach at northshorepavilion.com. And Mike, Tom, and I will see you there.
This is Tom Zappala. Located in the heart of downtown Haverhill, the Haverhill Beef Company is a full-service, old-fashioned butcher shop and meat market that continues to be a valued family tradition since 1952. Peter and Monica Carboni's Haverhill Beef offers individualized service from an outstanding selection of marinated sirloin tips, homemade sausage, marinated chicken, and thick, juicy Chairman Reserve steaks. Your family deserves the best, so call Peter at 978-374-4795 or visit their website at www.haverhillbeef.com.
Hi, this is Mike, and I would like to tell you about the Deborah Care Law Offices, a firm that is focused on estate planning, probate, trust administration, and elder law issues. You will feel comfortable discussing important issues concerning both you and your loved ones, as well as having the information you need to make an informed decision about your family's future. How do I know? Because I'm a client of Dan Deborah Care. If you want to have peace of mind knowing that your loved ones are protected, call Deborah Care Law Offices today. In Massachusetts, 978-686-4645. In New Hampshire, 603-894-4141.
At Catadella Funeral Home, we reinvest in our business to provide your family with the best facilities. It begins with a beautifully landscaped exterior, parking for 250 vehicles, and a comfortable and inviting access to our renovated interior. Funerals can be costly, so you should review and compare plans to make sure you receive services that are fairly priced. I invite you to experience the Catadella difference in cost, facility, and service.
Catadella's honoring and celebrating the lives of the people we loved, providing exceptional care since 1929.
This is Cindy,
And Mike Kunstler,
owners of Grazie Italian Restaurant in Dracut, Massachusetts.
the hidden gem of the Merrimack Valley.
In addition to spectacular views overlooking our golf course, we have an incredible Italian chef, Benny Curti.
Benny was born and raised in Italy and came to be our executive chef in 2013.
Benny is so passionate about cooking. If you haven't experienced the food at Grazie Italian Restaurant, you're truly in for a treat.
Grazie Italian Restaurant, located at Four Oaks Country Club.
Okay, we are back. We are chatting with Dan Deborah Care from Deborah Care Law Offices about estate planning, trust, getting old like Mike.
Dan, we have one of our listeners that wants to know the difference between a revocable trust and a non-revocable trust. Could you explain that to us?
Sure. And, a good way to really get an understanding of the difference is we actually have a professionally filmed version of our live seminar. And if you call our office and ask us to email you a link, any of your listeners can just click on that link and actually watch the live seminar from the comfort of their home. So
you can see that number right at the bottom of your screen, folks, 603-894-4141.
And so, we spend a good amount of time in the workshop talking about the revocable trust versus an irrevocable trust. But basically, a revocable trust is a trust you can change. An irrevocable trust is a trust that, in most cases, you can't change. Now, the reason you would use an irrevocable trust in this setting, and the most common way people are using irrevocable trusts today, is if you have assets that you do not want to be countable at the time you apply for Medicaid. Now, you would apply for Medicaid if you need long-term care in a nursing home, and instead of using your own money to pay for the nursing home, Medicaid is a joint federal and state program that pays for long-term care. But Medicaid has a resource limit. So you can only have so much in assets. For example, a married couple can have around $130,000, and an unmarried person can have about $2,500. If you have any more than that, you're not eligible for Medicaid until you spend it down.
Does the price of a house factor into that?
Well, the house is non-countable,
Okay.
but they will put a lien on it if you don't do something to protect it. So a lot of times what people will do is they'll put their home into an irrevocable trust, as well as whatever assets that they want to see be preserved for their beneficiaries. Now, the thing about an irrevocable trust, for your listeners in New Hampshire, if you want to be the trustee of your own irrevocable trust, New Hampshire officials will not consider that to be a valid irrevocable trust.
Okay, so if I want to set up an irrevocable trust so that they can't get my assets, and you put it in somebody's name, I'm assuming, put it in my son's name. So now if I go into, now the Medicaid kicks in and they can't garnish those, whatever assets there are. If you put money or whatever you're putting into an irrevocable trust in like my son's name, and down the road I need money, can he tap into that irrevocable trust and circle the money back to you if you need it?
So I just want to clear up one thing. When you say putting it in your son's name, it really wouldn't be putting it in your son's name. You'd be making him a beneficiary.
A beneficiary, that's what I mean.
And so typically what happens is, between parents and children, they have an understanding that if mom and dad needs money, that the trust will distribute money to the kids, and then the kids would have this is important, this is very important for people to understand, the kids would have the ability, but not the obligation,
right,
to make a gift back to mom and dad.
But that's important because I mean that's hugely important because
sometimes they stop liking you.
I know, exactly, that's right, and you're right. But
Yeah.
even though it's an irrevocable trust, it's not cut in concrete. So that if you in an emergency, you have to have access to some of those assets, and you have a good relationship with whoever the beneficiary is. It can work
as a follow up to what you just asked. Dan, I'm sure you've heard many horror stories where some folks have transferred ownership of their home to their children. Would you care to allude to answer that question?
Yeah, that's really reckless and dangerous. I had a lady.
A lot of people do it, though.
Yeah, I had a lady that I met with a couple of years ago, I think it was, and she came in with a document from some court in Florida, and she didn't know what it meant. And I sat down with her and I asked her, whose name is this? She says, that's my son. He's a real estate developer in Florida. And I said, well, did you do something with your house? And she said, yes, about 8 years ago, I put my home in my son's name because he's very responsible. He's a good businessman. And I wanted to make sure that my son got my home when I died, even if I have to go into a nursing home. And a lawyer told me, just put the home in your son's name. Well, the paper she was holding was a letter from a Chapter 7 trustee telling her that they were going to sell her house.
Wow.
And she said that one thing that, I dread it when I hear it, but she said, I never thought this could happen to me.
So well, that's sad.
That's you're a rat. You're a rat fink.
Dan, let's talk about reverse mortgages for a moment. They can either be a help or a hindrance in some cases. I'm using my deceased mother-in-law as an example. Her husband passed away many years ago, and he was an executive and left her enough money to live on for 30 years. And, she finally reached the age where she was 95 years old and just about out of money. So her family took a reverse mortgage on the house. And it really benefited. I mean, it really was the right thing to do. I mean, from the surface, I don't know if it was, but they were able she was able to continue on for another couple of years and she wound up dying before all the money was used. And I know they still got some money after she passed left over from the reverse mortgage.
But they were able to maintain the care that she was accustomed to.
She stayed right in the house.
Perfect.
So is that in that case? I mean, she never went into a nursing home. They had care for her. They used the reverse mortgage money.
24/7.
Yeah, and she was cared for 24/7 in her home, so she never had to leave her home. In that case, a reverse mortgage can be a good thing.
Well, it is, it is what it is. But I just have to say that in the beginning, when reverse mortgages came out, they didn't have Tom Selleck going on television promoting them because they were scams.
Right.
And they were charging huge documentation fees every year, huge points in the beginning. And then HUD came in and regulated them.
Okay.
So now reverse mortgages are just like any other kind of mortgage. They're regulated and they're just reverse. So you get the money, so you could either annuitize it and get a stream of income, and when you die, the house gets sold, the mortgage company gets paid, and the rest goes to the family. But the reverse mortgages had a bad reputation because of how they started out. I had a lady in my Beverly office who came in and she was talking about she doesn't really have enough income to pay for both her food and her medication. So she had to decide, and she had a home that had almost $500,000 in equity in it. And when I talked to her about the reverse mortgage, her family got angry at me, but she finally did it, and it was great because she could go back to the quality of living that she was used to prior to running out of the same thing where her husband left an inheritance that ran out.
The difference, pluses and minuses, of a will compared to a trust. What's the big difference between a will and a trust?
So a will is a document that gives instructions to the probate judge about where you want your assets to go.
Okay, so probate means that it's going to be public, correct?
That's correct. You have to go through the probate process, which means it's a year-long process. If you live in New Hampshire, you have to buy an insurance bond in most cases. And most of the times people hire a lawyer, and it can become expensive. And it can get tied up sometimes for longer than a year. With a trust, by putting the assets in the trust, remember I said a little earlier, a trust is a contract. You're putting your assets under contract. And what you're saying is that when I die, this is where I want my assets to go. So there are no probate court involvements. You've assigned in the trust who's going to take over for you when you can't handle your own business. So they become your successor trustee. Nobody has to go to court to deal with your home. If your home needs to be sold after you pass away, your trustee can sell the home without going to court. They don't have to pay all of the legal fees and probate fees. So the trust makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
We've got about a minute and a half left, Dan. Your website?
It's www.dadlawoffices.com. And people ask me, is that because of your dad? No, those are just my initials.
So again, feel free to log into their website, learn what you can learn. Take advantage of the seminars.
And also one other thing I wrote a book a few years ago. It's a paperback book, and it's called Protecting Your Legacy, Why a Will Is Not Enough. And if you call my office and just ask them to send you a copy of the book, that would be happy to send it to you.
Great.
Beautiful.
Dan, thanks so much.
Yeah, really.
Really, really informative.
I know how busy you are, man. And this was very, very informative.
Well, I'm gonna put everything in their irrevocable trust in Mike's name. I'm gonna make him the beneficiary.
Yeah, right.
Dan, thanks
No
question.
question.
Have a great one. Take care. Dan,
Thanks for joining us
from the Deborah Care Law Offices. That was very informative.
You know something? I knew he'd be an excellent
Did I
guest.
ask some good questions?
You shocked me. You shocked me.
Come on. You see, you think I'm a real moron.
No, I never said that. I think
that's
you're
just,
very gifted in certain areas. In other areas, you're a moron.
Shtick. You know that. Right?
I get it.
All right, listen, have a great week, everyone. Mikey Boy, that was very informative. Dan's a good man. David, have a great week. And to our viewers and listeners, remember, if you can't make fun of yourself, like I always do, don't make fun of anyone.
Hey, listen, have a nice weekend, everybody. The word America, David, is what? A nice Italian
A
word.
nice
A
Italian word,
beautiful
Kate.
nice Italian word.
Have a great week.
Take care, everybody.
Ciao.
Arrivederci.
Ciao ciao. Buonanotte. A presto.
Ciao. C'è una luna menzumata, mamma mia, mamma di dare. Figlia mia, cosa dare, mamma mia, pensate. Mamma la voglio che me voglio maritare. Ehi!